Hi, I'm HighPusher11, and this is my submission for DK King of Swing. I'm submitting this game as a donation war between DK any percent and Diddy any percent. Both categories are nearly identical in length. The world record for each is only a minute apart. So just like Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, the controls of this game are very simple, and like 90% of the controlling is just with the L and R buttons. When you're up in the air like this, the L button, of course, DK grabs with his left hand, and R for your right hand. The bananas you collect in this game serve two purposes. If you press B, you can use 10 of them, and that will give you an extra heart. And second, if you press A, you can use 20 of them, and you'll go into a powered up state for about 15 seconds, where you move faster and are completely invincible to all enemies. You'll instantly kill them just by touching them. Another very important mechanic that we'll first see in this next level is if you hold both L and R for a second, you will charge up and you can release it to do an attack. And this can be used to break barrels and defeat enemies. Using this attack actually makes you go a little bit higher than were you to not use it. So that is actually used in one or two places in the run when you really need that extra height. Now that I've explained how the game works, I'm just going to talk briefly about the differences between DK and Diddy. Diddy is sort of like a hard mode for a number of reasons. First of all of the bananas that just appear on the overworld for DK don't exist. The only way to collect bananas with Diddy is to defeat enemies or break barrels. So this means you're allowed to heal a lot less, and I don't believe the current route uses even a single banana boost. In addition, Diddy is a lot lighter and floatier than DK, so each swing that you do with Diddy allows him to get flung much further. Also, Diddy is a bit weaker than DK, so his charge attack doesn't go quite as far as DK's. Now, one thing I love most about this game is it's just so clear how much love the developers put into the game. They took such a simple concept of just, swinging around on pegs, and every single level brings something new and unique and interesting to the level. Every single level is very memorable as well. So earlier in this world, in Contraption Cave and Puzzling Pyramid, they both introduced some new mechanics. Contraption Cave introducing the levers that you hold on to with DK and he pulls down to trigger something else in the level. And Puzzling Pyramid introducing the cranks that you hold on to the middle of and pull repeatedly. We'll be seeing a lot of both of these throughout the run. One thing I just love about the level design in this game is how well they're able to introduce new mechanics and just have the gameplay speak for itself to teach you how to interact with it. For example, in Puzzling Pyramid, we saw the Kremling pulling on the crank to teach you how to work it. And right there at the end of Cactus Woods, you can see just how much using a banana boost can help getting through tough sections of enemies really quickly. So building off of the cranks that were introduced earlier, we now see them used again on a path, such that pulling on the crank moves them along the path. And now in this third screen, we see them used in a different way to make more pegs appear. Normally what you're supposed to do is keep pulling it until the pegs are full size, but in a speedrun you really don't need to. You can just pull them twice and then they'll be big enough to grab. This is probably my most hated level in the whole speedrun. There's a constant wind blowing to the left in this first screen and to the right in the second screen. And as you can see here, if you miss, if you fall off to the side, you'll get blown to the background and go around in a circle and lose a lot of time. Navigating up through this part can be really tricky, especially with these pegs spinning around in a circle so quickly. And right at the end here, I have to wait for them to stop spinning. I have to be on the one at the top. Luckily, I was already on it. And to be able to have enough height to make it to the top, you need to be on that top peg. So, Necky's Canyon introduces these throwable rocks, which you just pick up as you swing past them and let go of to throw them. And this first screen here does a great job of teaching you this new mechanic and giving you a very safe environment to learn the mechanics before needing to use them to defeat enemies and even bosses later on. In fact, we're going to use that in this next boss right here. So, after a few seconds, Fire Necky is going to spit 6 fireballs at you, which cool off into the rocks that you throw at him. And unfortunately, it takes 7 hits to defeat Fire Necky, so it is impossible to kill him in one cycle. So, after these first 6, we have to just avoid him for a while and wait for him to spit the second set of rocks at him for the last hit. I actually missed grabbing the rock here and take a hit, but luckily in the route there is a few extra bananas that I have set aside for healing, so it's not a big deal to take a hit there. So now we're moving on to the next world, which is the water world. The first screen of Lockjaw Falls here, you have to dodge these fish that are coming at you from either side, but if you go right after they attack the first time, you can actually, and just go as fast as you can actually just avoid them altogether. And then this last screen here introduces a cool new mechanic, which is these spinning pegs. You have to spin in the proper direction. If you do, it'll make you spin a lot faster and get flung a lot farther. If you grab it with the wrong hand, you'll spin really slow, and you'll really fling almost nowhere. So, Ship of Souls introduces a new enemy, the Ghosts, and they have an interesting property where if you're holding on to 2 with both hands, they'll turn invisible and won't be able to hurt you. So, the strat is to wait for them to be in your range of your attack while you're like that. Right here, I'm actually a little bit too impatient and go before he is in range to get hit, and that costs me a little bit of time. This last screen has a cool mechanic that's only seen in this one screen in the whole game. These pegs, as you can see, sort of appear around the peg that you grab. So you see pegs appearing and disappearing constantly, pretty much. Kremlin Camp is probably my favorite level in the whole run. There's so much interesting speed tech, especially in the second screen here. So I jump up, grab this rock on the way up so I don't have to wait to spin around once. And then here I throw this rock and immediately go on, jump to where the pegs will appear, and then just sort of hope that it hits. It's a pretty consistent throw, so there's not really much risk of missing, but it looks cool to just make that sort of leap of faith, anyway. Coming up next is Risky Reef, and that's our first underwater level of the run. The underwater physics in this game are kind of tricky. Besides feeling sort of slower and, I guess, a little floatier, there's also an interesting little quirk with them that, like, say if you're aimed upwards, you can gain a lot of speed upwards, but it's very, very difficult to move sideways at the same time. So when I need to move sideways in underwater levels, you'll really see me angle DK completely sideways. That you won't really see that as much in the other levels. So the boss fight of this world, Davy Bones, is also fought underwater. The idea of this fight is that he's basically a giant snake, and he has a peg on his tail, so you want to grab his tail and spin him around into these spikes. The best place to attack him is either of the top corners, where you can usually get 4 or sometimes 5 hits per rotation. The best that you can expect to do on this fight is a 2-cycle, and I get a 2-cycle pretty easily in this run here. So that's it for Davy Bones, and now we're moving on to the Ice World next. So we've seen barrels that shoot DK automatically already, but the first screen of Raging Ravine here is our first time seeing these barrels that you can actually control yourself, so you can control how these aim and then when to shoot. You just control the aiming with L and R, and then you shoot by pressing them both together. Now, right at the beginning here, the intended strat here is to throw the bomb up onto this pegboard and destroy the ice blocks, but you can actually slip in there and grab it before destroying them to skip throwing the bomb up there. This next level, Ice Castle, is one of my favorite levels in the game. It actually introduces ice physics, which you'd think would be hard to do in a game that's just about swinging on pegs, but they did manage to pull it off, where if you grab these icy pegboards, you'll still sort of slide around on them. So for this screen, you wait until that Kremling throws a rock, and then it always works out so that you're just barely avoid that last rock that this Kremling throws at you. I love how the timing in this screen works out so perfectly. So this next level, Underwater Ruins, is a pretty cool level. It takes a lot of the mechanics introduced early on in the game, like in Contraption Cave and Puzzling Pyramid, and puts them underwater. This second screen, just like in the end of Puzzling Pyramid, involves a crank to open up the walls here. I did a bit of testing to find out the minimum number of cranks it takes to make it through there safely. And then this last screen here has the levers, just like in Contraption Cave, to make more pegboards appear, and to open up a gate coming up right in a minute here. So now we just make our way down through this last screen. It's a little tough to do this quickly in the underwater physics. So the first screen of Cold Cold Forest is pretty tough to get the timings right. You have to sort of delay to make sure the nuts pass by you at a couple points, but you can't delay too long because you just don't have the room to grab two pegs to hold on. This part here went pretty well in this run, but if you make a mistake with these tires everywhere, that it can be a real pain to recover from. So now the boss of the ice world is Sassy Squatch. He comes up from below you, and you have to toss bombs down into his mouth. He sort of opens and closes his mouth at regular intervals, and if you take too long, he will actually just lunge up and headbutt you. It's pretty tight timing to make this throw, actually. As you see there, I missed that one. I would say that even getting 3 out of 5 perfect is probably average. 4 out of 5 is pretty good, and if you get all 5 perfect, that'd be a really good run for me. In this run, I believe I get 4 out of 5 perfect. So with Sassy Squatch down, it's finally time to go and invade K. Rool's K Cruiser 3. This first level, Booster Barrel Skyway, is just simply a booster barrel ride straight up. I collect as many bananas as I can for banana boost later on in the run. In fact, there's a lot of bananas in the next level as well. So K-Cruiser 3 Artillery involves DK dodging all these cannons firing at him from the outside of K. Rool's ship. In this second screen here, I use a banana boost because there's so much going on shooting at DK in this screen that it's not worth it to try to avoid everything, and it's just much easier to go through with the banana boost active. So now that we've infiltrated the ship in K-Cruiser hull, we see almost all of the mechanisms that we've seen throughout the game. On the second screen here, I use a banana boost because this jump is almost pixel perfect if you don't, and the left path is by far the fastest. So I take the side path here on this screen for these 10 bananas, and also this is far faster than the other path. I just barely missed this, but it's okay because I have enough bananas to heal. And right here we're collecting up to 50 bananas, and that'll be as much as we need for the rest of the run. In the first screen of the next level, we see the hardest and most involved trick of the run, the 30 banana DK Fire Bounce Hoo-Ha Combo DX. So the intended way to beat this screen is to destroy all these question mark barrels, and a new one appears after you destroy each one, and they're scattered throughout the entire screen. It takes forever. But with a precise jump right here and a damage boost from this fireball, we can skip all of that, saving 30 seconds to a minute. So this is the hardest screen in the game. It's the last, our final challenge before the final boss here. Right here I intentionally take damage from the spike, just because those pegs are so hard to deal with. There's everything going on in this screen is just pegs moving in very erratic patterns, and it's very hard to deal with. It ended up working out really well in this run, though. So if you notice, I didn't heal off that damage I took in the last screen. The K. Rool fight is in two parts. This first part is a race, and while it is possible to beat him without using a banana boost, you need to play almost frame perfect the entire time, and using a banana boost just makes it 100 times more consistent. And this last part is just a sort of a duel with him, where you just have to keep doing charge attacks at him until he dies. And now time ends when K. Rool hits the ground and I collect the gold medal. And that was DK King of Swing. I hope you all enjoyed.